Third force psychology is really important because when you understand that this whole system has been put into a neat little package of what you know, what you will do, and what you will be like. So what we talk about is the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. And it's real simple because the cognitive is what you think. The affective is what you feel. Those are your orientations. And the psychomotor is how you act. So what you think directly relates to how you feel, directly relates to how you act, or the psychomotor. The psychomotor is behavior. So in order to control behavior, you've got to control what children think and how they feel. And if you want to change behavior or performance, you've got to create a conflict in what children think and what they feel in order to control behavior or the outcome. This is called the whole child process. Understanding the whole child process is really not very difficult because when you think, well, gee, cognitive means 2 + 2 is 4, and that's true. 2 + 2 is 4 is a cognitive concept. But it's not just 2 + 2 is 4, but it's what you think, it's what you believe, what you know to be is true. So it's not only 2 + 2 is 4, and George Washington was the first president of the United States, but I believe Aunt Mary makes the best apple pie in the world. I do, honest. It's my honest belief, or I believe in God, or I believe that I have a room full of warriors in here today ready to go out and fight for their children. It's what I think. What I think is directly related to how I feel, the emotional, the spontaneous, the spiritual part of really being excited or emotional, spontaneous about things. So what I think and how I feel will directly relate to what I do. What I do when I go out in the world, it is me. It is me. It is you as an individual. And this is what makes up the whole child. It's the social, emotional, and developmental parts of what is going on. Now, also, in the next generation schools, just to go back for a second, there are 3 tasks that they feel are prerequisites to the revolution in education that are required. And that was to identify the knowledge, skills, and attitudes with which students would exit the public school system. They are agreeing that, yes, the Next Generation School Project in Georgia will use the whole child concept of what children will know, what they feel, in order to control what they will be like when they exit the schools of Georgia. So understand what we are talking about. We're talking about Bloom's taxonomy, the whole child theory, and that you must control all the variables in your child's life in order to control the outcome. The most important word in outcome-based education is demonstrate. In all of these overheads, we can thank Dr. Spady for his teacher training that he had done in Pennsylvania, because this is where they came from. The predominant views of outcomes, if you remember what I said about traditional education is based on subject matter. Then you have transitional outcome-based education, which has some higher order skills, and then you have transformational, which is complex role performance in authentic contests, like Howdy Doody Time. So let's think about what a teacher used to do under traditional education. Second grade teacher goes to chapter 2, and it is subtraction, so she takes the curriculum as her base and writes her objectives for subtraction. She does a test based on those objectives in subtraction, tests her children. She knows which children are not, or yes, meeting specific outcomes in subtraction. This is traditional education. It is called curriculum-based objectives. It is also outcome-based. What's the difference between this and this? What is the difference between traditional and transformational? Remember what I said about outcome-based education in the new system? It turned tradition on its head. What we are talking about is future citizen, global worker, human capital. So now, instead of starting with curriculum, like the second graders, chapter 2 in subtraction, we're going to start with the end product. We're going to start with the end, future citizen, and design down. So this is basically the concept and the differences, because under traditional education, everything was based on content. Well, now in transformational, it's based on future citizen. The key OBE purposes will equip all students with the knowledge, competencies, and orientations needed for future success. And to implement this, we have to have programs and conditions that maximize learning and success for all students. So the programs and the conditions must be controlled. And here's your transformational outcome design and delivery. Your future context, and I'll have to just tell you this little story. When I debated Bill Spady in Littleton, Colorado when I was there, and we had fun that day, because I said, Bill, tell me something. Are you clairvoyant? Since you know what my kids will know, what they will be like, and what they will do in the future, maybe you can tell me which stocks I should be playing, because we might as well all be getting rich while we're sitting around here. And since you're clairvoyant and you know what everything is going to be in the future, you can just give me a couple tips here and there. He didn't respond very well. But anyway, the whole idea is you start from their future citizen and you do what they call design down. So you start with their role performance, their exit performance, and then you bring it down to what children will know, what they will do, what they will know, and what the children will be like for the future. And this is what it looks like in their major domain outcomes: to know, to do, and what children will be like. So you might say, well, gee, what are orientations? And Mr. Spady very carefully will tell you what orientations are. Orientations are the attitudinal, the affective, the motivational, and relational. But the most important thing he says, they are critical in shaping future success. Remember what I said. You can't change behavior by teaching facts. You can't change performance by just memorizing that good old basic knowledge that will give you power to make decisions. What is critical to control behavior is to control the affective domain. In order to control the affective domain, you must use behavior modification. You must use unnatural techniques, because remember what was natural? What was natural was the bell curve. And when William Spady says we have got to intervene in natural phenomena, we must use unnatural techniques to force the change or the exit outcome. And the only way is through behavior modification. B.F. Skinner box schools, rat in the maze. Ask a rat to do something else if he's been trained to go through the maze to get his little reward at the end. Hey, rat, jump up and sing howdy doody. The rat can't do anything except what he has been trained. What I tell people to understand is, if you are being trained through operant conditioning, you teach skills, repetition, skills. What you have are little dashes in the brain that do not interconnect. Nothing connects. So if you are tested on that particular skill, a child can make an A. But if the child is asked to do something with the information they have, they can't function. They can't function. All they can do is be tested on their skill, push the button, on or off, etc., because they can't think through the process. What is the natural process? It's called cognitive mapping. Look at a baby. Look at how a baby learns. Observe them. It's fascinating. Babies are fascinating. They smile. They start to reach out, and they're growing. They'll roll over, then they get up on their knees, and they're going to pull themselves up. Then eventually they stand, and they start to speak. And the developmental process of this map that is within the brain is something that is just incredible. An unnatural process breaks down the cognitive mapping in these little dashes. So what I tell people to think about in developmental growth is like a tree. Here's the trunk of the tree, And as children grow, it branches out into this beautiful, wonderful, where everyone goes off in their own divergent ways, because that's truly who we are. We are all individuals. The system is trying to make your children into the cookie-cutter kids in the robotized system where they cannot function. And the proof is in the theory and the documentation that we have to prove that the system will not only robotize, but standardize the complete system. And we have studied the data banks. We have studied the standardization, and we know the direction that this is going in because of the standardization. So if we put the whole child theory, which is Bloom's taxonomy, right over top of William Spady, you understand that it's the exact same concept. All I have to do is put a circle around it, and you have the cognitive, which is what children will know, the affective, the orientations or how they feel, and the psychomotor, and understand that you can't separate the theory from Bloom, Benjamin Bloom, the Ralph Tylers, the Theodore Sizers, and the Spadys and John Goodlad and what they are doing out there. It's the same theory. They're just using that little paradigm, you know, the double speak on you. The mastery learning outcome-based system has been perpetuating for many years. Bloom's taxonomy was written in 1965, and William Spady has worked very closely with the same people. Now let's look at why I can say that national goals, national testing, national curriculum, national teacher certification, and a data bank to monitor all the above is because you must have alignment. You must, in order to control the exit outcome, you have to teach to the outcome, and the teacher has to have a piece of curriculum that will teach, that she can teach in order to meet the outcome. You must test the outcomes in order for the child to be placed. You can't teach the second chapter in math and subtraction when they're going to be testing another concept. This is why the standardized test must be done away with. Why? Standardized testing measures content. We need new authentic tests. We need performance-based tests that measure the new outcomes that was in the paradigm in the matrix that I showed you in Georgia. We are not testing content. We must test the new exit outcomes for the human capital. Now, what is interesting